Hello, Savannah.
Hello, Taryn.
It's so nice to see you today on Thursday with this fabulous Ops Experts Club group. Looking forward to today. Are you?
I am. Yes, I've been doing a little research on our interviewee, and I'm excited to get to talk to him. I also love your pink shirt today, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Feeling very festive. Well, yes, we do have an awesome guest today. I know you have not met him before. I got the privilege of working closely with him probably for a good 5 months this year, and it was a blast. Come on. So, Savannah, everybody else, let me introduce you to Nick. And Nick is with Kingdom REI. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Excited to get to know Savannah a little more. Had the privilege of working very closely with Taryn for a season, and looking forward to helping the community.
Wow, that's so great. I'm so glad to have you here, Nick. I know it's been a while since we've connected. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we'll just get started with. We love to hear about. You kind of started this new role with Kingdom REI a little bit ago, but what's your background? What got you there? What are you doing now, and for who? What does that entail?
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I kind of always been a technologist at heart. Started off in grade school and high school helping neighbors with computer upgrades and repairs, and ended up starting a computer consulting business in college called Technics Computer Consulting. And it was just a real joy to really serve people and come alongside and help them. And I think probably the motivation for that stemmed from helping my grandmother, who was deaf, kind of wire up different contraptions in her house, from doorbells that lit up to helping her with email and getting her with different voice to text services. Just this ability to use technology to serve people was really there. Spent 15 years running operations for a college ministry, helping just develop leaders on local college campuses in the Twin Cities. And then just started to have a fascination of and love for investing in real estate. So I joined the Kingdom REI community and then came on staff with them in January as their operations director.
Wow, that's quite the background. I love hearing, getting to learn about technology through helping someone very close to you. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah, I also just thinking about how you started because it sounds really different than what you're doing right now, but it's just there's such a need for that in every community, and so I just love that you just like saw that need even from a young age and we're like, you know what, I'm just going to go and take care of this in my community, because I know like my community is predominantly like older generation, like people usually come out to my area to retire, and so I noticed that with a lot of our local businesses, like tech is such a struggle. And I've thought about several times, like, man, we need a business that people are willing to go and like kind of, in person hold someone's hand and like help them learn these tools to help them run their business more efficiently.
Yeah, it's pretty funny how one interaction can make a big difference. In college, I sold cell phones instead of Best Buy, and I had a big sale where I sold a family all new phones. They bought some digital cameras and a couple computers, and I had just read this business book. If you complete a sale, you're supposed to walk your customer to their car. So I did that, and the gentleman said, "Hey, do you know anyone who can help me set this up?" And I just had this moment of, "Wait, I think I could do that. Here's my phone number." This is before the Geek Squad, existed. So from that one interaction kind of birthed a business of helping people with their technology. And it's just, we all have different skill sets that are naturally developed, and for whatever reason, that's just been something that's been fascinating to me. Specifically, like how can we use technology to serve people? And a lot of what I do now with Kingdom REI is creating structures and systems to help our community flourish, because the more people in our community that start businesses that excel, the more impacts that we can have. And I think that's why when I get to connect my why in life, which I think has something to do with how can I use technology to serve people, then that's really a rewarding thing we get to engage with.
Hmm. Yeah, it's fun to hear about like that small little advice of walk them to their car after the sale. And it's fun to think about what that looks like for online sales. You know, if you're doing phone sales, getting people into the Kingdom REI, what does walking into the car look like in that environment?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of people that can see the value of the vehicle of real estate in order to, build resources, produce income, and produce opportunities. But there's so many people that are on this side of the equation where they just need a team of people, they need some education, and they need a community. And how Kingdom REI comes to meet that need is they help give the education, the how-tos of this is how you invest in commercial real estate, but they also provide coaching and training to help move them forward. So the walking the person to the car analogy, I think, is encouraging people to overcome their fears of really investing in themselves to take that next step, and to join a community that can really help propel them towards the future that they want to create. So many people are on this side of the fear, but they need a community, a product, or a service. And how Kingdom REI comes alongside that is it provides the structure, the how to, the education, but more than that, a community of like-minded people that want to use the vehicle of commercial real estate in order to create impact. So, as an operations director, what's the easiest way to help the least amount of friction, help that make that happen? So, clear organization, clear communication, structures, one pagers, and different ways to help really come alongside and serve that person. So they're never having to ask the question, where do I find that resource? It's so naturally intuitive where they can go and find it. So a lot of what I do is to work with our internal operations team to develop the structures so that we can really come alongside and serve our members.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a delicate balance because it is so important to have the community feature in our virtual world where things are so like self-serve these days. So like trying to find that right balance of like arming clients to self-serve, but also like giving them the, the one-on-one, personal touch.
Yeah, and I think I'm curious, Savannah and Taryn, you guys work with a lot of different organizations. There's this balance of digital versus in person, a balance between, one to many educational tools. You pre-record content and you distribute it broadly. But there's also a need for one-on-one coaching to be able to get on the phone and call someone, to send someone a message and get an immediate response. So we're constantly evolving in learning the delicate balance between scale and efficiency. So pre-recording a lot of things to distribute it, but also the one-on-one coaching. A lot of people really need that, and I think it's because we all have different limiting beliefs. We all have different fears that need to be overcome. I was just on a coaching call with one of our members this last week, and it's interesting how we all have very similar limiting beliefs that we have to overcome. And speaking from experience, we all have those. And when you can share from your heart of here's my limiting belief and this is how I've overcome it, there's a delicate balance between both providing systems and structures, but also that one-on-one coaching. So curious, as you guys have influenced a lot of different organizations, do you see this hybrid approach of both the one-on-one plus the one-to-many?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see, the one-on-one's great for like trying to dig in deeper. People really feel that attachment of it's just you and me. But then one to many, it still gives you the opportunity to answer questions people might not even have realized they had. So as you're answering somebody else's question, somebody else is like, oh, maybe I'm not there yet, but I can take note on that answer because when I get there, you already answered it for them. So like it really, the answers to the questions is what really helps the group understand what's coming up if they're not there yet, or how to solve something they're already at that somebody else is asking in a really clear way. So it's utilizing both approaches is really helpful.
And I think having both also, because in a community that's, if it's one to many, a person, with limiting beliefs, they might think that they're not worth, the attention or whatever. And so they like, there's that sort of missing accountability piece. And so like to retain people in your courses, in your programs, like they need to know that they are worth the time to, like they need that accountability piece. Otherwise they'll let themselves go. and then they'll kind of like fade into the background. So I think having both, Taryn can, attest to it, but I feel like we see more success in people that kind of like mix both in there, because people are less likely to just kind of fade away.
Absolutely. So Nick, as you've been doing this role for, I don't know how long it's been now, 8 months, 10 months, year,
Yeah, since the first of the year. Yeah.
first of the year. Okay, yeah. So like, what's something you've learned or taught in this role? What's the best story?
Yeah, lots of good stories. I think the art of clearly delegating comes to my mind, and I'm not sure if I have the feature to be able to share my screen, Taryn. Does that work?
I don't know. We've never done that here.
All right, let's give it a try here. All right, here we go. Can you guys see this all right?
I only see your face. We might not be able to.
I see it on my screen, so maybe someone on the back end can, if they're able to figure out, that's great. If not, that's okay. It's live on my end. But I think the art of delegation is one of the best tools in the tool belts that I've kind of been able to bring up. And I think there's 5 different levels of delegation, and I think knowing when to use each level is kind of an important thing to learn and to come up with. So level 1 is, when you're working with a team, you're always going to be thinking about how do I lead, and the more that you can give responsibility to your teammates, the more that you can delegate. I think the better leaders that you are. But sometimes you delegate and you have something in your mind, but the way that that's received from one of your coworkers might come across differently. So using the phrase, I'm going to delegate this a level 1, or I'm going to delegate this a level 5, I think helps people know how much ownership they can have. So level 1 delegation is, hey, do exactly what I've asked you to do. Don't deviate from my instructions. I've already researched it. I've already determined what I want you to do. Just please do this. Level 2 is research the topic and then report back. We can discuss it. I'll make some recommendations and I'll make the decision. Level 3 is research the topic, outline the options, and then make a recommendation. So the person you're delegating to is going to kind of think through what are the pros and cons of each option. Tell me what you think we should do. Whether you agree with the decision or not. You as the leader are still going to authorize them to move forward. So that's level 3. Level 4 is, hey, I trust you so much. You just go ahead and make the decision, and then just tell me what you did. You don't have to tell me all the details. You don't have to keep me in the loop. Just tell me what happened. And then level 5 delegation is kind of the pinnacle. I'm going to give you the vision. You just go ahead and make whatever decision you think is best. So no need to report back. I trust you completely. I know you'll follow through. You have my full support. So how that's helpful, and when you are thinking about leading a team or operations on a team, the reason that that's really helpful is you're able to really kind of give the framework for what you're asking. So the framework is basically this 5-step process. The what, you're just going to clearly describe what the project is. You're going to give the rationale for why you're doing it. So that's important for the person to know. You're going to give maybe some parameters, the how, so budget, maybe some internal, external resources, documents, whatever kind of dates you're trying to hit. And then you're going to define, hey, these are some really clear wins of why this is going to be really helpful. And then you're just going to simply give those levels of delegation that I was just referencing before, the level 1 all the way to level 5. So I just think that's a really helpful kind of framework to think through as you're working on a team with someone, because what it does is it empowers your coworkers and your colleagues to really be able to lead themselves. And if you're able to give the vision, the why, the what, and the how, they're able to help execute on the project. So I'm kind of recovering, kind of wanting to control everything type of person. But the more that I'm able to delegate, one, it develops other employees. It gives me more flexibility to do the things that only I can do, but it also helps develop your coworkers. So I think it's an art. There's an art of delegation. There's no one size fits all. But curious, Terrence, Savannah, how does that strike you? And have you guys ever been familiar with that framework of levels of delegation?
Well, I'm not super necessarily, I haven't seen someone break it down that way before, which is really cool. But to me, what it kind of makes me think of is when we first start with a client, it's almost like the stages of grief. It is like the stages of delegation. So like when we first start with a visionary, they might be stuck at level 1 because they just like don't want to let go. And then, by the end, once they're confident in their team, then, get to level 5.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They all pretty much start there. It's hard to really give up, and we really try to coach and train them into like, okay, let's give people more responsibility, more delegation. And the beautiful thing about these small businesses we get to come into is the way they're structured, the way they work is as a business is growing, the people under them are growing just as much. So it's like the role you started out with the company 6 months later, it could be completely different as you've grown with the company because the company's growing. It's not, a Fortune 500 company that has a 500-person org chart where everybody has a job and you only do the job and in those responsibilities. It's an evolving organism that's constantly being like, is this something you'd want to do? Is this something you can do? Here you go. I'm going to delegate. As you delegate, they get better. They lift up. They have people to delegate to. It's just this beautiful natural evolution.
Can I break that down just so people can kind of see a live example of what that? I'm a kind of hands-on, practical person, and just think that that could be a helpful thing for the audience to see. Would that be all right, guys?
Yeah.
Break it down.
Okay. Okay, so just kind of playing it out, we had this project we were working on where we have a mentorship program and we have a weekly call, and we wanted to be able to help report on who is actually taking action. So we have a scoreboard, and the scoreboard is simply just a tool we start off our meeting so that people can see where they're at. And there's a level of gamifying it too. So the higher the score, obviously, the people are putting in higher work. So here's just an example of walking through the clear delegation. So the description, the what was create a leaderboard for the accelerator program that would allow our accelerator students to know their high score and also create a leaderboard of all time, similar to you'd see on an arcade video game. So I've got 3 sons. Whenever we go to the arcade, they're always looking at the highest score, and it just kind of stays there life to date. The why was we wanted to create accountability. We wanted to kind of think about our core values of keeping score, what gets measured gets valued, and then we wanted to have a scalable solution that would allow us to have multiple cohorts of the accelerator program kind of going at the same time. So the how was 2 hours of your time. Here's our type form. Here's a current Google document. Here's an example of what it could look like. And then the milestones to hit were the first date, a draft by this date, final version by this date. And the wins were we want it to be scalable, we want it to be visual, we want it to be displayable on the weekly forum, we wanted to slice data based on which accelerator cohort they were part of. And then we didn't want to have a lot of prep time to get ready for it. This is a level 4 delegation, meaning go ahead and just go for it and then just tell me what you did. So that was just a really clear example of how we use this delegation document to help a team member work with Taryn and the ops team to create this tool that now is blessing our community. So now every week, this tool that a couple of our team members and Taryn worked on, we use it every single week because there was clarity on what we were looking for and how to go about portraying that for our community.
Yeah.
I also love that from a bandwidth standpoint, because if you have, the whole team knows what these levels of delegation are. And so if there's a couple different team members that might be able to execute a task for you and you're like, hey, I need you to do a level 4 delegation. And the person's like, oh man, like I don't have time to think about what needs to be done for it and brainstorm that. I have enough time to do something that you already basically know what you want done. And then, so, if someone doesn't have room in their schedule for a level 4, then you can go to someone else, or, someone, if you have a level 2 where it's like they already have kind of the clear parameters laid out for them and they're not having to do a lot of brain work, then they might have bandwidth for that. So I kind of like that from that too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You can break it up by levels as different steps in the project. Really cool. So Nick, tell me about maybe your biggest hurdle as you've been in this role, either dealing with now or in the past.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of the ops team episodes, and I think a lot of people have touched on just the idea that visionaries tend tend to give a lot of ideas and they kind of want it to happen right away. And operational, um, you know, directors or administrative types kind of want to slow the process down because they want to make sure that it's scalable for the future. So I think that the balancing act of wanting to be out here but also being real with here. So a phrase I've used with some of the members on my team is, "Hey, I really love this vision. Here's what I have that I'm working on today. What I heard you say today was that you want to launch this new product or service. Help me help you get there. Here's what I have for my project list this week. What's more important? Should I keep the things here, or do you want me to pivot to work on that?" And I think what that does is it gives your teammates or your visionary coworkers the this full scope of all the things that you are working on. It gives you the ability to have parameters so you're not working 24/7. Um, but it's also a challenge too because you know our personality type is often we want to respond to the needs of people and kind of execute right away. I think the challenging part of that is we probably don't give ourselves enough time to really do the deep work that is needed to move projects forward because we're always trying to respond to emails within a certain amount of time or responding to project management messages or Slack notifications or text messages or Voxer notifications or emails, whatever they may be. We've got a lot of different inboxes coming, and it's hard just to kind of like push that all aside so that we can really focus in on what's most important. And I really like the framework of thinking about what are the big rocks you're working on. And I think something that Taryn and the ops team has really helped us think for as a company are what are our quarterly rocks that we're working towards, and then how do we break those down into smaller chunks so that this month or this week we're trying to accomplish one thing. And I would even say, like, even on the daily level, what are the three most important rocks or the three largest, most important things that are going to move the needle forward on your business? And really just thinking before you open up your email, before you open up your project management tool, before you start responding, like scheduling and blocking time to really work on those most important tasks. Um, because it's hard. It's hard to not start engaging and responding and serving and really do the deep work that it takes. So delegation is helpful because it gives you more time. Working in a tool like Asana or Monday.com is helpful because it keeps everyone on the same page. But at the end of the day, you got to have a level of tenacity in your own schedule that you can really protect the things that are most important. And in a sense, everything you're saying yes to, you're automatically saying no to other things. So why not say yes to the most important things, even if that means dropping some other less important balls? So I would say the balance would be like the phrase I would say is that's been the hardest thing. It's a very quick, fast-paced company to work with. There's lots of great people. There's amazing projects that we're always constantly working on. But finding that balance is always the hardest thing. And tuning into the ops expert, I've heard lots of people kind of talk about that same thing. So I'm not sure if that rings a bell or if we're preaching to the choir. But what do you guys think about that?
Well, and I feel like you kind of provide like a unique perspective in that too, because like you might even process requests slightly differently than other ops experts because you're also kind of a visionary. Like you've started several businesses. Like you kind of have to, your brain has to work a certain way to be in that kind of position as well. And so so it's interesting to hear you talk about it as well, because I feel like you're also like the idea generator. So usually those brains, they, you know what I mean? You just process information a little bit differently. And so I feel like that would even be more difficult for you probably than other people, because I bet your wheels start turning as soon as you get a request about something. You're probably like, ready to chomp at the bit, thinking about new things to create and stuff.
It's hard knowing you could do an A plus on a lot of things, or you could work with partners like Taryn to develop the most epic system. But sometimes a B plus or an A minus is totally sufficient. So I think realizing there's only a certain amount of hours in your day, and you only have a certain amount of time to do the work that you're called to do. So how do you balance knowing that it could be an A plus every single time, but for a particular job or task, you might only need, a B plus or an A minus. So that's hard. That's really hard, I think, for a lot of ops experts to be okay knowing they could deliver an A plus on everything, but sometimes what's needed is a C plus or a B minus or an A minus or a B plus.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. And from what I've seen, the most successful relationships with a visionary is when your communication's clear around even things like that. It's all the ideas coming in, and then you being clear on, okay, here's where we can take it. Here's what an okay version of what you told me looks like, and we can get it done by this time without having to hire outside people. Here's what a better version looks like. It would take longer. It requires more money as we contract with other people. Here's the most perfect version. So it's almost like bringing it back to them, like where do you want us to take this? This is where we could take it, here, or here, based on this criteria. And as long as that understanding is clear, then it can work for both of you. I love
Yeah, for sure.
I love visionaries. We all need them.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We just gotta work together and balance each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to help with one more thing for the audience. I think for the longest time I thought who I am, in the sense of I'm really an administrator at heart, because I thought that a different set of skills or responsibilities would be better. But as I've embraced being administratively gifted, that's actually produced more fruits, because I've not necessarily stayed in my lane, but I've operated in who God has made me to be. And I would just say, like, being administratively minded or gifted is actually a truly wonderful thing. And when you can link arms with teammates that have, complementary set of gifts, I think real impact can happen. And I've been really thankful for the Kingdom REI team, because we all have different gifts and we all have different strengths. But when those strengths come together, I think real team unity can happen, and real impact can exist. So I guess an encouragement to the audience would just be, embrace who you've been made to be, and link arms with people that can help complement you.
Yeah.
I love that.
100%. Takes all types for the world to go around. We need visionaries. Visionaries need us. It's a very symbiotic relationship, and it's fun. It's fun. That's for sure.
How else can I serve your community, guys? What else can we do here?
Well, we're done. We are at a wrap. We've hit our 30-minute mark.
Okay,
And
great.
it was great.
Well,
It was fantastic.
yeah, a true pleasure. With happy to connect with anybody. You can follow me. Just nicksrommel.com is probably the easiest place to get connected to me.
That's great. Loved having you on here, Nick. It's been great to see you again. Hope we stay in contact as well with you and your whole team. So thank you for joining us, Savannah. Great to see you again.
Good to see you, and good to meet you, Nick. This was a great time. I love this.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Savannah, and Taryn. Looking forward to our next interactions.
Awesome. Well, we'll see all you ops experts people again next Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time again. Thank you very much. We're out.
Bye.